Hello and welcome, my name is Ansu and today I wanted to talk about all the books that I read in the month of January. So I was sitting down to do my journaling and I realized I actually read 9 books in the month of January. I thought I would read only 8 and I will just get into that once I talk about that book. But let's just jump right in and talk about all the books that I read in the month of January. The first one I read was The Lucky Ones by Kiersten Modglin. I have read one other book by this author and I really did enjoy it last year. It's very short. It might take you anywhere between 3 to 4 hours to finish her books. It is not that long. This one I got from NetGalley as an audiobook. We have 5 kids who are living in Fallen Oaks, which is like a little town, and one day hell breaks loose and all of their parents are killed for some reason. We don't know what happened and the murderers didn't get to these 5 kids on time and they end up escaping. None of them have any connections with each other. They're completely dispersed across the country. No one has any clue where anybody is. There's just one pair, they're siblings, so they're obviously together. A bunch of years later, I think 5 years later, most of these characters are young adults and they're living on their own and all that kind of stuff. The anniversary of their parents' death is coming close and each of them gets an anonymous letter basically saying that the murderer is going to come and get them. Obviously they're freaked out, they don't know what to do, they want to figure out the mystery to it, they don't know if they can approach the police, they're freaking out, and we're just trying to figure out who their parents' murderers were. Each of them did get a letter and we have no idea who these people are, how they found them, anything. It was a fun book. I just feel like I enjoyed this a little less than the other book that I read from this author, which was The Arrangement. I adored that book. I thought that was incredibly creepy. This one, it was creepy, but I kind of saw where it was going to an extent. I just didn't care for how it ended, honestly. That was just my gripe with it. It wasn't bad, but it was not my favorite. The next one was also another audiobook I got from NetGalley, which is Josh and Gemma Make a Baby by Sarah Reddy. So this one, obviously from the title, Josh and Gemma are making a baby. So essentially we have Gemma, who is divorced, and it is known to her that she's not going to have any kids. Her life is supposed to be perfect. She's a very positive thinker and everything is going well in her life except the fact that she cannot really hold a good relationship and also she can't really have kids. So she decides this year is going to be the year that she's going to make a kid, and it's going to be through IVF. So she decides that she wants to have a partner who she takes the sperm of so she can just have the baby, have no connection with the person, but she kind of knows who the person is, kind of. So she decides that it's going to be Josh, who is her brother's childhood friend. Josh is quite smart, kind of, and he's good looking, he has a charm, all that kind of stuff. So she kind of knows him to an extent, so she's like, yeah, this is gonna be perfect. And she decides to go through with that whole you're going to be my sperm donor as a romance, so they obviously end up together. Overall, I did enjoy the story. I gave this I think 3.5 or 4 stars. The one thing I didn't like about it was Gemma as a character. She's a little bit annoying. It wasn't bad or anything. I understood the way that she was acting to an extent, but she didn't really care about her friends all too much. And her friends were just too nice, and they just met. So I was just like, really? How are you finding friends like this? I want some. Please, thank you. The good thing about this book was talking about a miscarriage, talking about IVF. I love the fact that it was not mysteriously she's oh, I can have a baby now with you. That didn't happen. She obviously had to go through IVF, and I really liked that part. Just giving that whole reality of things. I thought that was very interesting. Also, one more thing. There are these quotes that are supposed to be very inspirational, and it's coming out of this guy who's supposed to be well known for his inspirational quotes. I just feel they were very generic Google quotes. You can literally type it on Google, inspirational quotes, and the first few you get was the ones that were kind of described in this book, and it's a very huge part in this book. But anyway, I still enjoyed it. It was a pretty decent book. The next one, also another arc that I got from NetGalley, was The People Next Door by Keri Beevis. This was a bit creepy, I'll give it that. This is also another thriller. I think I give this 4 stars. So Ellie and Ash kind of move into this countryside house, and there's only one neighbor that they have, and it's very secluded, and it's a nice looking house, but it feels kind of haunted. There seems to be a very dark past to this house, and Ellie and Ash might or might not have known about it, so we're not really sure. We're trying to figure that out. And also the neighbors, we have Benjamin, who's very shy, and he's just very sweet overall, and he also has this very elusive sister named Virginia, and we don't know much about her. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with her. She just seems very unfriendly, and we just don't know what is going on over there. Ellie has his best friend who's kind of an asshole. Honestly, I don't know why they're friends. We don't know if we can really trust that best friend. We don't know if we can trust Benjamin and his sister. We don't know if we can trust his town. We don't know if you can trust Ash or Ellie, like nothing. It's really fun. It was a really good book. The ending twist was insanely creepy to me. I thought that was incredibly well done. It really talks about like mental health issues, but I don't like the way that they dealt with the mental health issue in the end, but then it was just a very creepy ending. I really enjoyed how it ended. Obviously, I can't talk more about it because it is a thriller. I don't want to spoil it for you if you choose to read it. But it was a really fun book. I had a good time reading it. The next one I read was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This one was on the Goodreads Choice Awards, so that's why I picked it up. And a lot of people were really boosting this book up, like, oh my god, it's so perfect, lovely, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna love it too. I did not like the main character. We're following around Catalina Martin. She's single and living in the US. Her family is back home in Spain. She had left them to work in this career that is very male dominant. Essentially, she has this animosity with this other co-worker named Aaron, and we always get told that he's 6'4", he's very tall. You know, I feel so tiny next to him. That's the whole like personality trait between these two. For some reason, Catalina really hates Aaron, and it was apparently because of something she heard. And I just felt like Catalina was just honestly unreasonable. Like, she was acting like a teenager, and she's supposed to be like nearly 30 years old, and they're just like, bro, you are holding a grudge for something that you don't even know what's going on for. And Aaron is just trying to be like, he is kind of an asshole, but also he's trying to be nice in this situation. But like, anyway, essentially there's this huge wedding that's happening back home in Spain of Catalina's sister. She obviously has to go home, and she accidentally told her family like she's dating someone over here in the US. Her family's like, that's exciting, but we've never really seen him. And obviously Catalina is in kind of a situation where she's saying, you know what, I need to get a date and take him back home. Aaron kind of volunteers, and he's like, I'll go with you. Catalina's like, no, I don't like you. That's her whole personality trait. She's like, I don't like Aaron. He's 6'4". He's not a good person. He told something about me and I didn't like it. That's the whole personality trait. I just found her very annoying. I know people love this book, I get it. It's very colorful. Once she gets to Spain, especially the food and everything that they talk about, it just sounds, it's incredible. The atmosphere is incredible. The romance, once you get to the romance, I think it was kind of cute, but I felt like it was a little fast paced, but still, it was kind of cute. But the beginning part especially, I just found that Catalina was pretty annoying, and I just didn't like that. And also the fact that he's 6'4" was always mentioned like a billion times. It was not my favorite book. I give it like 3 stars. The next book, this is the one that I was talking about. I completely forgot I finished this book, and I don't know what to say. Like, it's probably that unmemorable. Like, I legit forgot that I read this book, and I updated it February 5th. That's when I updated reading this book. And I actually probably read it around the 16th or so of January. That unmemorable for me. So sad. I know people are going to come after me for this, because it was so popular, everyone loves it. I personally did not enjoy it as much as I would have liked to. So we're following 2 different perspectives. We have Alton, who is a long lost prince. Everyone has assumed that he's dead because whoever like took over his kingdom basically killed off his father, his mother, his sister, but Alton ended up escaping, and he's set on avenging his family's death. On the flip side, we have An, who is very poor. She is a low-life thief almost, and she's taking care of her grandmother. And we realize that she has some sort of magic powers, and everyone kind of looks at her differently, and they're just like, oh, she has to be stoned to death. And essentially she ends up escaping. Alton and An's paths kind of cross. An really does not know anything about her past, and she's trying to figure out like what her life was like in the past and all that kind of stuff. The premise of it is very interesting, but I felt like I was very bored, especially with like Alton. His only characteristic was, oh, I need to avenge my family, and then he meets An and he's like, oh my god, I love her, I cannot do anything to sacrifice her life, like, oh my god. Bitch, what is going on? And I felt like they fell in love so quickly. An also, oh my gosh, she was just such a whiny bitch. I didn't like her. I was really annoyed by the book. It was really not memorable at all. I did not care for it whatsoever. It is very disappointing, honestly, but it is what it is. Let's move on. I still gave it like 2.5 to 3 stars. It was just unmemorable for me. Will I continue on with the rest of the series? Probably. Actually, probably not. I feel like I wouldn't, because that would be dumb. So the next 3 books I read were graphic novels, and these were Saga volumes 7, 8, and 9. That was like all the volumes that are published so far. There are a couple more issues that have been published, but I haven't read those yet. I don't know if I want to read it just as issues, because I'm going to be really bad. This one follows around these 2 characters who are from very opposing planets, and we have Elena and Marco. Their people kind of hate each other so much. Marco is caught prisoner in Elena's planet, and they end up falling for each other and escaping. And it's their whole life together, their elopement, them having a child together, and the child's life, what is going on between all these worlds, and all that kind of stuff. I think it was volume 7 or 8. There was a particular death of a gay character. It's kind of like what happens in some movies where there's this comic relief minority character that they end up killing. Pretty much that. That's what it felt like. And I was just like, what? It was not necessary to kill that person off like that. The 9th volume really broke me. I was really upset by that. I want to know what happens throughout the rest of the story. It's very interesting. Definitely very adult, very action-packed, very gory, and like read it at your own risk. It is a fun story. I had a really good time reading it. Next up, I read Real Easy by Rutkoski. She's the same author, I believe, who wrote the Winners trilogy. I think I read that like 7, 8 years ago, if I'm not wrong, and I had a good time reading it. I thought it was really fun. This one is a thriller. It is set in 1999, and we're following around Samantha, who is a dancer, and she's been dancing for a very long time. Dancer as in stripper, essentially, and she's not used to like mixing her friendship and family life, especially because she has a very jealous boyfriend and his daughter. This new dancer who came by who's absolutely clueless. She has no idea how things work at the strip club, and Samantha is just being kind to her, essentially. Something happens one day, and Samantha ends up agreeing to drive home this clueless young girl, and this one small decision ends up being very deadly to Samantha. In this like mysterious murder thing that's going on, we have Georgia, who's also another dancer, who gets kind of involved in this and ends up helping Holly, who is a detective, in solving this whole crime. Georgia obviously wants to help, but it also ends up meaning that she's a target. We're trying to figure out who the killer is, blah blah blah. But here's the thing with this book. There are like 12 different POVs. I'm not kidding. We have Samantha, we have this clueless young girl, we have Georgia, we have Holly, we have 2 other detectives, we have the owner of the place, we have like 3 or 4 other strippers, we have the kids of some of these strippers talking as well. Like so many people are in this book who are like talking from their perspective, and honestly like it's very confusing. I could only remember like Samantha, which was like kind of our main character, after like getting her POV like 5 times, I think. I could not remember who these characters were, and it was very difficult to like figure out who these people were, trying to connect with them, all that kind of stuff. Figuring out who the murderer was pretty easy to an extent, at least I think. And yeah, the mystery overall was not like mind-blowing or anything, but the way that everything was done, the creepiness of the story, I did enjoy that. So I give this a 3.5 stars. Would I recommend this like as the best thriller? No, but knowing that Marie Rutkoski was also a dancer in her past, it was just like a fun little take on the story. It was definitely interesting for sure, and yeah, it was a pretty decent book. I'll give it 9. Alright, those are all the 9 books that we read in the month of January. I did end up reading 6 novels and 3 graphic novels. That was a pretty good mix of books. I'm really happy that I got to so many books, which is really nice. So definitely let me know down below what are some books that you read in the month of January. What did you enjoy? I would love to know. If you read any of these books and enjoyed them, let me know that too, because I'd like to know. But that is everything from me. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Ansu. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified every single time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time with another one. Until then, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye!